Hey, thanks for coming back for some more money keeping or money saving tips. And if you missed the first part of it, the realistic ways of saving money for even people on a lower income, everyone can save. Go back to the original video from this morning. This happens to be part two of the same. Thanks so much for being here. I want to find a video clip that I have not played in a little while. Let's see if I could. Hang on a second. A blast from the past. All right, how you doing? I'm Jan. I love helping people keep some more of their own hard-earned money. Could that be you? Don't forget to go back to the first video in case you missed it. That was uploaded earlier today. So let's talk about some more money keeping tips. Now, at the grocery store is a really good start. Some people may agree, some people may not, but that's all right. I have found for myself to work out. So that's like a discretionary spending, what you spend on the groceries that you buy. But I do notice a really, really good trick, and many grocery stores do this. You can get half price on, as they call, a rotisserie, or some people call it a barbecue chicken. So let's do the math. If you could get one at half price, why not get two? So you're paying one price, regular price, but you're getting two in value. You could do so much with the already cooked chicken, including the fact that you're not spending, on the oven or the gas, whatever method that you're using to cook with. And not to mention the time that you are saving because the chicken is already cooked. You could do so many recipes. Just look it up on this platform. You will find a gazillion recipes for cooked chicken. So don't forget to take advantage of those half price sales. All right, so it might be a little inconvenient, might be a little bit later in the day, but find out if your local grocery store does that. And it is a really good thing to do. You could get a number of meals, pair it up with, let's say, if you make a big old fat old macaroni salad, the old fashioned way with the elbows, or if you like tricolored pasta, or if pasta's not for you, maybe potato salad or whatever. Team it up with some big old salad that you could use for a couple of days. That is so good. You could eliminate cooking for a number of days. That's a deal. Just saying, just saying. And a money keeper, too. Just saying, just saying. Around here in the city, subway and bus fare, the local transit authority here has gone up to somewhere near the $3 range. I forget the exact number. I don't use those methods of transportation anymore. I'm just, I made it my mind. I don't use those methods of transportation anymore. But let's say that a person has to, let's say, go to work, and that's like $6 a day round trip. Okay. Some people might say, well, what's $6 a trip? Well, if you're making that trip about 20 to 30 times a month, it adds up. It adds up in a hurry. And if a person lives in what we call here a two fare zone, where you have no connecting bus or no connecting train from your location, let's say if you work in Manhattan and you're coming from, let's say, I'm just using this as an example, from another section of, let's say, Queens. And sometimes you have to pay for one method of transportation. I remember the good old days, and I was taking a bus and a subway to get to teach. That I remember very vividly. That's really expensive. You can find another method or find a job that's closer to home. Believe it or not, this is the stuff that eats up your income that can go towards other things, paying down debt, building up some savings, just starting. You know what I'm saying? Try to find an easier way to cut back. If you could walk to your job, amazing. Because when I had, listen, amazing, because when I had another job that was much closer to home, I did just that. I used to walk back and forth to work. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure not knowing, listen to me. It was a pleasure knowing that I did not have to spend tons and tons and tons of car fare or a subway or bus fare just to get to work. Because it's almost like you're pickpocketing your own self. So try to find, another method. So there you go. Now, okay, so make a decision Here's another thing to do at the grocery store. Let's bounce back to the grocery store. Because again, we have a lot of options. We have a lot of options when it comes to groceries. Never, ever, ever discount that value. And that's a valuable thing. Make a conscientious choice to trim your grocery bill by 10%. What? Yes. So, you know what? I normally spend, I'm just being, as an example, say out loud or on paper, I normally spend $100 a week on my grocery budget, right? Well, if you could find ways to shave off 10% of 100, that's $10. Now, if you think about it, it really isn't such a big deal to try to shave off $10 that week. And if you do it again the following week, and if you do it again the following week, let's say that the average month has four, some months have 5 weeks in them, okay? So 4 to 5 times that $10, we're talking $40 to $50 a month that you could keep in savings even on a low income, okay? Now, be realistic. Again, going back to realistic. I discovered something in the last few years. Not everybody eats 3 square meals a day. No. Because when I was growing up, that was just normal. We were taught you have your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. Rarely. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody until like back in the 90s where people saying, "Oh, you eat three meals a day?" I was like, "Yeah." That was like the standard thing to do. But then a lot of people have cut back and they cut it down to like 2 meals a day. Everybody's life is different. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's medical situation is different. Some people really need to watch their blood sugar and have to follow the doctor's advice about eating plans and so on and so forth, whatever. But some people have found, and I'm not recommending because I am not a doctor, but some people have found that they can manage their budget better on reducing how many times a day they eat. So I'm not saying it either way. I'm not saying a word either way, but I'm just mentioning that some people do that. Honestly, I listen. I feel this way. A person can eat, even if a person, let's say, has a banana or an apple or a little bit of toast or something in the morning. I think that's really important to start your day because think of all the hours that went by without any eating. I think it's true when people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I tend to agree because then you're going to go out and then you're going to face the world, then you're going to go to work, or even if you're working from home, you're still working. So don't, take good care of yourself. Don't deprive yourself, basically, is what I am trying to say. Find alternative ways. As mentioned in my previous video this morning, about going back to basic foods like in the 1950s or whatever. Let's think about this. Back in the 1950s, there was no such thing as a crock pot. No. Generally speaking, what people did was they would maybe braise food in their ovens or make literally a thing called, you of course heard the terminology, pot roast. And that pot, was used like on top of the stove or partially on the stove or in the oven, whatever, or they baked, or they used a skillet and they fried. We have so many options today. This brings me back to something that puzzles me: the amount of money that sometimes people choose to eat out is something fierce, and a lot of times it's mindless. It's like a mindless thing. Oh, okay, let's stop there. Let's stop there. And if you're picking up meals for X number of people, not even just for yourself. This is when, it could get really hairy and scary with just one person, right? But imagine multiplying that number by 3, 4 people multiple times a week. In some cases, it's multiple times a day. So we have to be more careful. This is where money slips through the cracks. That could be put into savings, like, let's say, an emergency fund. It is a scary thought to not have an emergency fund. We do not know when an emergency will happen. Emergencies happen. You will not get a planned ahead letter with a written invitation on it saying, well, 6 weeks from now, you're going to have a financial emergency. In more cases than not, you're not going to get any warning sign about it. See, that's the thing about an emergency. It kind of sneaks up on people out of nowhere. House repairs, car repairs, the fridge breaks down, an unexpected medical emergency, whatever. We need to make it a priority to, at the very least, begin an emergency fund, starting with the first month of absolutes. Fund for your absolutes. Create that. But if we don't take that minute to maybe squeeze a $10 here or a $20 here, there, and everywhere, it's not going to happen. And then, of course, there comes a time when you've trimmed back all you possibly could. I mean, like all you possibly could. There comes a point where you have to say, you know what? Where you might have to say, correction, not always. Where you might have to say, you know something, it's really not a bad idea to, let's say, earn a $25 to $50 a week income. You could even just work part-time, 2 to 3 hours a week. And that might save so much headaches for the future. Well, I really hope that these tips help. But the main thing is to remember this. Even people on a lower income can save. Don't listen to naysayers. Sometimes the best thing in the world is to just keep it to yourself. Keep your plans to yourself. Naysayers can really, well, do their best thing. Naysay. Don't let the naysaying destroy your plans. Have an amazing, fantastic remainder of the weekend. Come back to actually at midnight tonight. Steve Young is on the show tonight. And guess what? We have a very interesting announcement. You're not going to want to miss that show. So get there. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Take good care. Bye-bye.